It's your boy Big Business, and we are back. You know what it is. Take a look. It is mental health is the new wealth. Mental health is the new wealth. All right, we just gonna dive on in. Today is about The Outsiders. Not the movie from way back in the day, although it was a great movie from Francis Ford Coppola. That was a novel prior to. We're going to talk about The Outsiders and what's good about being an outsider in that particular movie. You had teenagers who had some destructive tendencies, had that sense of needing to belong. But, that's one of those things that as we become an adult, we shed childish ways and we're grown and we're adults now. So we need to learn how to turn being an outsider into a positive thing. Turn being an outsider into a positive thing. So here we go. Five things about being an outsider that's positive. Number one, you have an unbiased perspective. When you're an insider, sometimes you have these loyalties, these people who have these expectations. That's why sometimes jobs hire outside of the company to get a fresh perspective, because everyone inside of the company already has their allegiances, they already have their predispositions, and what's going on in the company needs positive change. So oftentimes they hire an outsider to get a fresh perspective. That is one part about being an outsider. Add to that, that's why sometimes you got to come from the outside and go in. If you're staying stagnant, if you're staying with the same corporation, you're staying with the same system, systematic issues will occur at times if you just stay in the same position and expect change. You're going to have to push some boundaries. You're going to have to sometimes be the outsider in the room. And you're going to have to do that with the boldness and the courageousness that you have the faith that puts you in that room for a reason. It's not an accident that you stumbled in on that meeting and had something that you wanted to tell the boss. You have something to offer. You got to believe that. Okay, that's the only way. Be bold in faith going into those rooms. And then sometimes you find out whether you belong in those rooms or whether you need to have different conversations to get you in other rooms, or maybe you need to change companies to get into the right room. It just depends on what that situation is. But again, that is unbiased perspective. We're going to go next to creative problem solving. Okay, when we say creative problem solving, let's just think back to talking to your friends. A lot of times when your friends having relationship problems, they're so overcome with the feelings and the emotions attached to the relationship because of the time they invested. They need an outside opinion. Everybody say outside opinion. So then they can take from their experience, their observations from the outside looking in, and then apply, again, coming back to the fresh perspective. Then that gives you the clarity and the freedom to move forward with confidence. It's not bad being an outsider, okay? Being an outsider also has to do with things called resilience. Before you make the team, you have to try out for the team, and that takes a certain amount of resilience. You're going to be considered an outsider at some point in your life, so get used to it. Embrace it, because if you can work your way from the outside in, that's not a bad thing. Because sometimes if you started out on the outside and get on the inside, it's not a bad thing, because you know how you got on the inside. And if you don't like what's going on the inside, you could take your butt right back out. And that is a skill that you have learned, which is adaptability. You've learned to adapt to different situations. I've seen people who have worked for the same corporation for so long, their resume doesn't show diversity. And it's scary when you are with a company so long, or you're with a significant other for so long, or you're living in the same city for so long. Somebody, I'm getting hit. And a hit person hollers sometimes. I'm just pinching you, because you know it's the truth. When you stay complacent, when you stay in a area, the socialization, the awareness, it lessens. So then it feels like the end of the world when you're asked to adapt to a new environment. And you need to voluntarily put yourself in those environments so the creative sides of your brain don't atrophy. When the new perspective is needed, that hasn't gone away. You've built up a certain amount of self-resilience because you challenge yourself to be an outsider and go into certain new experiences in new rooms, okay? Now, we're going to go into some of those people who are outsiders, who were great people who contributed to the world based on not being afraid to be an outsider in a minute, okay? So, to review, unbiased perspective, creative problem solving. They show resilience. They got grit to them. And also, number 5, they have the ability to not be constrained by conventional wisdom. And when I say conventional wisdom, the conventional wisdom of the day was the world is flat. Until somebody challenged that and said, you know what? I believe otherwise. Some people still fighting over that. I believe otherwise. So I'm willing to explore different horizons, different parts of science, do the studying to actually find out and test these theories. Some theories people want to consider facts because they're not courageous enough to do the work and be an outsider in the realm of thought. You're going to be considered an outsider oftentimes until you're proven right. Again, I'm going to say that again. You're going to often be considered an outsider until you're proven right. So you got to have that faith and that resilience to just go out on your own and sometimes and go into those different spaces and learn and explore. And in some cases, experiment. So three people who are outsiders who had great lives and really changed the world as we know it. Elon Musk said this, I didn't fit in, so I built a world where I do. So we already know what Elon Musk is responsible for. A lot of technological innovations. He did purchase some companies that had taken things to a certain amount, but then he pushed the envelope with Tesla, et cetera, so on. Yes, Tesla did exist. I'm not saying Tesla didn't exist, but when you're starting to talk about changing the world, you mass produce things, and ultimately, he was also inspired in that regard by people like Henry Ford. Henry Ford, people don't know this, Henry Ford transformed the car industry as well, but he also went broke and bankrupt 5 times. 5 times this man went broke trying to make this Ford Motor Company work. Mass production was changed by him. Elon Musk took the baton, said, okay, this electric thing, let me take what's already available. These companies only got so far, let me do my thing and push it even further. And sometimes, just like with McDonald's, you might not be the person who is the originator, you might be the outsider, but you can get in and then take it and push it to new limits because the other person only saw this much. But you're from the outside looking in, you say, this can go further, this could be better, this could be different. And then you challenge yourself, you're courageous enough to come from the outside with a fresh perspective. Let's go back to that. And last but not least, let's go to Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln, I tell you, Honest Abe, part of the reason, this is a personal feeling, part of the reason I think Honest Abe was so powerful is because he was an outsider. Yes, again, he was not part of the socially elite. Okay? He did not go to college. I repeat, again, he did not go to college. Some of y'all say, okay, well, fine. In the 1800s, not a lot of people went to college. That's a lie. That's a lie. Some people didn't go to college. So Harvard and Princeton had been established in 1642 and like 1746, something of that nature. I did the research. I didn't want to bore you with the numbers, but these prestigious higher education institutions had already existed in some cases for over a century, yet Abraham Lincoln chose to go into politics without that. And he was not the only president who did that in that time period. There were 8 who said, okay, yeah, people going to college. I'm not going to college because I have a different assignment. Many went to the military, did different things. But Abraham Lincoln grew up extremely poor, so he could relate. He could relate to the poor man. And when he came into that rich room, he was an outsider. Also, he could also see the conditions. Listen to what I'm saying. He could see the conditions of what poor people experienced, including slaves. He could see firsthand what experiences that poor people from rural environments experience, including slaves. Now, we can't expect people to be perfect. It takes a lot of people to make society change. And ultimately, that civil war that was going on, he did what he could and ended up getting assassinated for it. Sometimes you have to fight for a purpose that's larger than you, because we're not designed to stay here. We're not designed to live forever. So sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you have to find the thing that you're willing to lay your life down for. You have to find what is in alignment with your purpose and what is your legacy going to be. As a president, you have to say, what does the world need more of? We need more equality. We need more freedom. We need more justice. We need more liberty. And that's what he died for. Again, he was an outsider. He wasn't welcomed into these rooms. He had to be bold, courageous, have that adaptability, listen to both sides, be able to rely on himself, and didn't need a lot of necessarily support from the inside. Sometimes the promotion's not gonna come because you're not meant to be promoted there. Sometimes you got to take a different route, go around, come from the outside to get to your goal, not through the inside. Take the long way. Some of us don't want to take the long way to success because we're discouraged because we're not in the place we want to be. Don't be afraid of the outside. A lot of people started from the outside, and then once they got inside, they were tougher because they knew what was going on outside and on the inside. This is your boy, Big Business. Again, please share the message to anybody who you think will be encouraged by it. Mental health is the new wealth. Tune in to the Big Business channel. We'll see you next episode.